what I'll do now, so we'll try to look at like how can we use Linux for your regular activities, kind of those things we'll try to look at. Okay. So as you know, like we can use for practice point of view, right? Killer Coda we can use. So we can try to take that Linux session. So right, when we are when you are working with a Windows operating system, what are the activities we do? So okay, we'll try to understand that first. Then we'll try to utilize same kind of activities. Okay, we'll try to do in the Linux side as well. So one of the activity we do is user administration. Like, okay, we try to create a users groups. We try to add the users to the servers, right? Manage the users into different groups and all we do. So the same kind of activity, okay, we can try to do with Linux as well. And what are other activities we do as a admin? We try to install the different softwares, right? We manage the softwares, like, so manage, when I say manage, right, you try to install, you try to upgrade, so you try to look at any new deployments, okay, managing the, when you try to install the software, you have to manage that as well. Like you have to start the service, stop the service, or else restart the service, right? Sometimes you may remove the software. These are all the activities you perform. So when suppose sometimes what happens when you install the software and when it is running, it may consume your resources, your system resources it will consume. If that system resources are consuming, sometimes if it is consuming more than what you have resources in your system may go slow, right? Your performance issues will. So at that time, if you have any performance issues, you have to, okay, connect to that particular machines and you have to resolve those issues. So what kind of performance issues you may have? Okay, let us say when you install the software, when you start a software, like any service, so what happens, like it may create one process actually, right? When you try to start a software, it will try to create one process. The process management is one of the, okay, administrative activity. Like sometimes if it is consuming more resources, like what resources in the sense, like memory, CPU. Okay, if it is consuming more memory, more CPU kind of, then you have to look at why it is consuming. Is that on a genuine process? Is that really the work is happening in that? Because of our application is running, it is consuming some CPU memory, then it is fine. Sometimes, okay, there may be hung process. In Linux point of view, they call it sometimes, okay, you see that there are certain services, like we call it as a zombie processes. That means, okay, which is unauthorized process. Such kind of process may consume your resources and your system will go degraded performance. That means as expected, it may not work. That will create an issue. Your application may go slow. Sometimes it may go down as well. Your system, okay, consume all the resources, your system resources consumed by that particular unauthorized process, and it will, your system may go down. Such kind of issues, you have to address that and you have to troubleshoot that, why it is happening. We see ultimately what is our goal. Our goal is to manage our application up and running, okay, install the required softwares, up and running, all those stuff you have to look at. As part of that, okay, we'll try to perform different activities, right? So we'll try to look at like how these kind of activities we can perform. Okay, so first we'll try to start with a user. So you look at when you try to create a server, let us say Linux operating system. So there is one user, let us say root user. So we don't allow everyone to log in with the root user, right? Okay, we don't allow everyone to use administrative privileges, root user kind of. So what we do, we try to create an individual user accounts. Let us say I'm trying to create a user called user 1. Okay, let us say user 2. He may belongs to, these users may belong to a group like some SAP team, right? So there may be certain other users as well. Let us say user 3, okay, user 4. These users maybe belongs to, let us say, Java team, let us say. So there are certain users, there are certain groups. So you have to manage these user administration activities. Sometimes, okay, you have to set up the passwords as well for them. Sometimes the user passwords may lock, you have to unlock that and all you have to take care of. A simple, very simple how to, okay, we need not to okay, spend much time in that understanding, very simple activities. But okay, we need to understand like how it works basically. Okay. So let us look at. So when you are working in a Linux, right? As I said, like there is a shell. We are working with a shell. So if you look at when I say user add the username, let us say user one. So what happened? The user is created with the name called user one. You want to see the details of that user? You can say ID user one. So it will give you that user details. See, the user one is created with the name called user one with the user ID, group ID. So if you don't specify any group, so by default it will create the same name with the group, and okay, the user is part of that particular group as well. User one group. Okay, let us try to add a, let us say one, we try to create a group as well. Okay, let us say group add Java group. Okay. Now you see what we'll do, we'll try to create a user called user2 and we add that user into Java group. Okay. See user add, or else we'll do in this user2, but is not part of Java group, right? User1 and user2. If you want to add the user into a group, what I can say user mod user. Okay, we are trying to modify that particular user details. You can say capital G means the secondary group, you can say Java. Which user? Let us say user one. Now you see ID user one is part of user one group, that is a default one, and Java group also, right? Is part of these two groups. In a similar way, if you look at now, user two also will try to add into a Java group now. ID user two, if you look at, is part of user two group as well as Java group. And whenever the user created with the particular username, right? So, okay, let us say if I created a user called user one, the user home directory also creates, that is in /home/user one. Okay, where we can see all the details of that particular user is whenever you create a user, that user details are kept in /etc/password. What is that? /etc/password. I'll try to look at a tail. Tail means like last 10 lines kind of, but I look at only 2 lines now. Tail 2. Okay, /etc/password. I want to see last 2 lines. See what it is saying. Hey, you created a user 1. This is a user ID, group ID. What is a user home directory and which shell we assign to him. Okay, that's the way you can try to look at all the user details. Okay, etc password is a file which will maintain all the user details. Okay. Whereas in etc shadow is there, one more file that will maintain the passwords. Actually, if you look at now more etc shadow, see here the user password is not updated here, but it is an encrypted format. But you can see how to set up a password for a user is password, let us say user one. Okay, I'm giving some random password. Okay, now password is updated successfully for this particular user. If this user want to connect now, he can use his username user one password, whichever we shared him securely, we share that with that particular password, you can able to connect. So where you can see his detail, that details tail-1 etc shadow file will tell you that particular details. But okay, it is all encrypted, and when it is going to expire and all those details it will show. Okay, at this moment it isn't required, right? So that is the way you can try to create a users, groups. Okay, if you want to delete an user, you can also delete that user del user one. Okay, if you look at ID user one now, that user one is no more, right? You can delete that particular user. Okay, so the group information where it will keep more etc group. So the group information, like you look at here, Java group, user two group is available, right? User one we just deleted. Okay, so if you want to see head means top 10 lines, it will print. Tail means bottom 10 lines it will print. But if you want a specific number of lines, let us say 2, okay, etc password. So top 2 lines it will show. Whereas here if I say tail, bottom 2 lines it will. So let us try to take it forward. So as I said, like user administration is one of the activity we do. And okay, let us say if you want to install the software, if you want to manage the software or anything, how can we do that, right? So if I want to manage the software, okay, if you look at a Windows operating system, you know how to install the software in Windows operating system. So we know like we can download some .exe file, right? You can download the .exe file and you can say next. But we can also do some other way. There is a package manager. We call it as a package manager. Excuse me. We have a package manager. So for Windows, we call it as a CHOCO. For Linux, we have a YUM. Okay. For Ubuntu, we have an APT-get. Okay. Different types of package managers are available. So YUM will be there till Red Hat 6, 7. Okay. But in okay. Yeah, we look at first. We'll start with YUM and we can look at a Red Hat 9 point of view also. We look at it. So this YUM repository or apt-get repository, CHOCO repository will helps us to install the software with the command line. Okay. Suppose I want to install the Visual Studio Code. You all know, right? What is the Visual Studio Code on my Windows machine with the CHOCO? CHOCO install VS Code. So what it does, it helps you to install the Visual Studio Code with the simple command. So what you can do, simply you can try to run this command, CHOCO install VS Code install this one. So you can look at here, but in my system, as of now, okay, you can try to run PowerShell, run as administrator. But as of now, CHOCO is not installed on my machine. Okay, but if it is installed, so simply I can run this command, right? So what happens? The CHOCO is going to install. Okay, so, yeah. So I can say yes. Okay. So what it does, it is going to connect to that particular chocolatey repository, and it is going to install the Visual Studio Code on my Windows machine. So what the CHOCO is doing here, it's the package manager. It is helping us to download the required package and installing. So that is the package manager. What the package manager does, helps you to manage the software. It will try to copy that required software into the required folders, let us say in your C program files. So it will look at all the instructions, installation requirements, and it will perform. In a similar way, in a Linux, if you look at which operating system we are using, Ubuntu. If it is Ubuntu, we can use on a command like apt-get, let us say install some, there is one software called wget. To download any softwares, we can use that command. I'm trying to install that, let us say, right? So what it is saying now, so this particular package is already installed. So if you want to remove that, right, what I'll do, instead of install, I say remove wget. Okay. So now it is asking, hey, you want to delete that? Yes. Yes. It is going to delete that particular software. It will remove the software from your machine, right? It is going to, if you try to install now, right, it is going to install that particular software. So it is in a Ubuntu. Because of that, we are using a command called apt-get. If it is a Linux, you can use yum or dpkg. This command is going to install, delete, erase, reinstall, upgrade, all those activities you can try to run. Okay. Remember, whenever you install any particular software, right? So there's one web server called Nginx. I'll try to install here. apt-get install Nginx. Nginx is one of the web server actually. So I installed here. So once I installed, you can check that particular service is running or not. See, if I want to utilize that software, you need to start it. Okay. Systemctl is a command. You look at it as an active running, right? It is active running and enabled. Look at here. These two we have to concentrate. Active running and enable. Sometimes what happens, once you install, it may not start, right? You have to go and start the service in order to utilize that, in order to start a process, right? Once the software installed, you have to start the service. How to start? Systemctl. Status means it is checking that if you want to start it or stop it or restart it, right? Or enable it. So if you look at now, it is stopped. You can look at status now. So it is inactive or dead. Inactive or dead, right? But if you observe here, it is enabled. Though it is inactive, it is enabled. That means after rebooting my machine, let us say if I rebooted my machine, this software, the service will automatically start. If it is disabled, when you rebooted the machine, okay, it will not start the service. It will go into stop mode. You have to go and start it. You have to go manually and start it. So that's why whenever you start a service, make sure that it is enabled. You run immediately you run a command like systemctl enable, okay, systemctl enable, okay, that particular software name Nginx, okay. So it will try to enable your software. That is the way you can try to start the software. Once you started, the corresponding process will run you can check whether it is running or not. ps-ef grep Nginx. What is grep? I'll explain you. Or else you can run ps-ef. It will show you your entire system processes. It will show you your entire system process. But I don't want to look at all my processes. I don't want to see that now. I want to look at only Nginx related, right? I want to look at only Nginx related. So what I can do to filter that particular keyword, right? To filter a particular keyword in Linux, what we do is pipe symbol will help us to do that with the grep command. See here, so Nginx is not running now. The whatever the output we got, that is in a process related command. The whatever the command we ran. So what I'll do now, I'll start it first. I'll try to start the service. Now try to check whether the process is running or not. You can see now the Nginx process is running. So what we did, we installed the package, we started the service, we enabled the service, and we checked the process is running or not. Yes, it is running, right? It is. Every process has a process ID. In Windows also, if you look at a task, in the task manager, you can look at every process has a process ID. Right? In Windows, what do you do if you want to kill that particular task, right? So what do you do? So if you look at like, so there is a PowerShell is running, right? If you want to stop that, what I can do, I can go to task manager, right? So there is a PowerShell. So what I do an end task, right? So that PowerShell is gone now. In the same way, if I want to kill any particular software in Linux, so what I can do is kill -9, that process ID. So if you look at here, the Nginx process is this, okay? 3263, sorry, 3253. 3252 is a parent process for that, and 3253 is an actual process. So if I want to kill that, what I can do is if I want to kill the parent process also fine, it will kill all the processes related to that parent, right? So if you look at now, so look at now ps-ef grep Nginx, is that running now process? No, the process is not running. Though service is running, but process is not running. If the process is not running, okay, you cannot utilize that service. So we have to look at as part of troubleshooting once service is running or not, process is running or not. Okay, if not running, sometimes okay, service may run but process may not run. You have to restart the service to make that running. Okay.